Hi, Robert Reagan here with Treasure Maps Genealogy. Welcome. And welcome to the very first edition of the fun and informative Treasure Maps Genealogy Test Your Genealogy IQ. So now it's time to test your genealogy IQ and knowledge with this question to build your genealogy research prowess. And this isn't just genealogy trivia, it's also a mini lesson that can help you with your personal research skills and maybe have a little fun. Here's today's Test Your Genealogy IQ question. What would be the best resource to search for the occupation of someone working in Washington, D.C. in 1890? Would it be A, the 1890 federal census, B, the Social Security application photocopy, C, the War of 1812 military draft record, or D, an 1890 city directory? What do you think? I'll give you a second. Time's up. Pick one and see if you got it right. So let's talk about those options for a minute and see what the best choice might be. And if you have any ideas or thoughts about it, please do leave them in the comments below. Well, let's see how you did. We'll start by exploring each option and discussing their usefulness in this situation. So, option A is the 1890 federal census. It's an important resource. You've got a good old snapshot of people living there, and you've got information such as name, age, gender, race, marital status, and more, and occupation. So that's good. So I know you may be highly suspect because if you've been involved with genealogy research for a hot minute, you know what's coming next. So yes, the 1890 census data did have occupations, but this census was destroyed basically in three phases: fire, water damage, and disregard. And see, unlike all the other previous census returns, that's what they did was the copies were left with each county clerk's office, and only the original was made and returned to Washington. This was the case until January 10th, 1921, and they noticed smoke coming from the basement of the building. It took them hours for the firefighters to put it out, but had the census been placed in a vault, which was also in the basement, we might still have it. The rest of the original 1890 census returns were neatly stored on pine shelves in an unsecured file room in the basement of the Commerce building. And the fire, it destroyed about 25% of the returns, and then another 50% of the remaining ones, they were destroyed because of the water damage. And so you got the charred water damage, and it was jockeyed around to different storage facilities until 1933 without fanfare, and many believe under scandal, the returns were destroyed. And a fun fact, ironically, one day before the order was issued for the destruction of the census, President Herbert Hoover laid the cornerstone for the National Archives building. Now, there were some exceptions in the tragedy. A total of a little over 6,000 names out of almost 63,000, they were preserved, but that only amounts to about 3 rolls of microfilm. That's it. So the 1890 census is a resource for the occupation in the DC area, but it is not the best resource in this case. And option B is the Social Security application photocopy. And now this was created much later than 1890, but it can sometimes be used to trace somebody's life back through the years if they share details about their employment, history, or other aspects. But the chances are low that this information would be available for someone living in 1890 in Washington, D.C. So it's not going to be very useful in this example. And also, the program did not have a start till 1935. Option C is the War of 1812 military draft record. But since this war ended in 1815, those who had draft records in 1812 they're not going to be alive at that time. So it's not going to help in finding what someone is doing in 1890 in Washington, D.C. Kind of this one was off, one of those red herring questions. And finally, option D is the answer. An 1890 city directory. Did you get it right? An 1890 city directory is one of the best options because city directories, they list names, addresses, and occupations. And so you can get a valuable insight into the mystery person's job back then. City directories, like our modern telephone books, have been used since the Revolutionary War to advertise businesses. And over time, residential listings were added, and that gives you insight into a person's occupation, a former or current address, and the people living there at the same residence. And these directories are often updated annually or biannually versus the 10-year method of the federal census, and then it's kept private for 72 years. But the city directories, they give you clues as to when a person may have moved or passed away, but other records need to be found for confirmation. So there you have it. A city directory might be the easiest method of determining one's occupation in Washington, D.C. in 1890. And now that we've discussed each option, which do you think would be best to search for someone's occupation? If you have any thoughts or additions or disagreements about it, let me know in the comments. And also, I hope that you like and subscribe and all that YouTube stuff. And also look for the description notes in the video. There's a link to like the resources for the Facebook page for Treasure Map Genealogy, and there's a donation link. So, and if you like this video style, please let me know that in the comments as well. And stay tuned for more Treasure Map Genealogies Test Your Genealogy IQ videos.